All right, let's dive into a topic that honestly sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie. The one-person billion-dollar company. It seems completely wild, but this idea is moving from fiction to fact faster than anyone expected.
Yeah, you heard that right. I mean, think about what a unicorn used to be, right? It meant thousands of employees, massive glass office buildings, the whole 9 yards. But that picture is changing dramatically. In fact, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman says this isn't just a possibility anymore, it's pretty much inevitable. So the big question is, how on earth does this even work?
So here's how we're going to break this all down. First up, we'll define what this new kind of unicorn actually looks like. Then we'll get into the tech that makes it possible to, well, virtualize an entire company. From there, things get really interesting. We'll explore what happens when traditional advantages just disappear. And we'll uncover why your personal obsession might be the only defense you have left. We'll ground all that with some fascinating real-world case studies, and then we'll get real about the tough side of trying to do it all alone.
You know, for the longest time, the business playbook was pretty simple. If you wanted to build something really big, you needed a really big team. Scale equaled headcount. It was just how things were done. Well, that fundamental rule, it's being completely torn up and rewritten as we speak. I mean, just look at the difference here. It's night and day. The old model was all about physical presence. More people, bigger offices. That's how you showed you were valuable. The new model just flips that completely on its head. Scale isn't about hiring more bodies anymore. It's about applying more leverage through technology. The whole game shifts from managing a huge payroll to achieving a near-zero management cost, all run by one person from a laptop.
And look, this isn't just some random prediction. When Sam Altman says something like this, you listen. He's at the absolute epicenter of this technological shift. He sees where this is all going. The very metric of success is changing. It's no longer, wow, look how big our team is. It's quickly becoming, wow, look what we were able to build with almost no one. Okay, so what's the actual engine powering this incredible shift? It all comes down to something called the agent tech stack, and it's completely changing our relationship with software.
This is such a critical shift in thinking. For our entire lives, we've used tools. A piece of software like Photoshop helps you do the work, but you still do the work. We're now moving to a world where you're not just a worker using a tool. You are the conductor of an entire orchestra of AI agents that do the work for you. Imagine a whole engineering team, a marketing department, all virtualized, all automated, and you're the one holding the baton.
Now, this idea is so powerful, it actually challenges the reason big companies even exist. There's this classic economic theory, Coase's theorem, that basically says companies form because it's cheaper and less of a headache to manage people internally than to constantly find and hire contractors for every single task. But what happens when AI agents can do all of that for you? Find the perfect person, negotiate the contract, manage the workflow, instantly and for practically nothing. The whole justification for a big, formal company starts to just melt away.
But here's the paradox. This incredible new power creates a massive problem. If everyone can build things with an army of AI agents, if perfect execution becomes cheap and easy, then how is anyone special? What's your competitive advantage? What's your moat?
And this isn't just a theory. It's a real fear inside the biggest companies in the world. This quote comes from a leaked internal memo at Google. A senior engineer was sounding the alarm, basically saying, hey, we don't have a defensible advantage, and neither does OpenAI. And the scariest part for them? The threat wasn't another giant corporation. It was the open source community, thousands of individual developers moving faster than any single company possibly could.
And that really is the heart of the crisis right there. If a company like Google feels exposed, what does that mean for everyone else? It means the technology, just being good at building things, is no longer a durable advantage. When AI can help anyone build anything, your raw technical skill becomes a commodity. It's not enough anymore.
So if technology isn't the answer, what is? If the code isn't the moat, what is? Well, the answer is something surprisingly, and I think beautifully, human. It's your obsession.
Think about it. An AI can be trained to replicate any output. It can copy a writing style, a coding pattern, a product design, but what it can never replicate is the human input. It can't fake that deep, weird, sometimes totally irrational curiosity that makes you start something in the first place. That spark is uniquely, uncopyably yours.
This pretty much sets the old startup playbook on fire. All that stuff they teach you in business school about 5-year plans and total addressable market,
It's kind of useless in a world that completely changes every 6 months. The new strategy is about what some people are calling founder obsession fit. You don't start with a market. You start with your own deep curiosity and bet that you can build a business around it. You're no longer betting on a market analysis. You're betting on yourself.
Okay, this all sounds pretty cool in theory, right? But does it actually hold up in the real world? Let's take a look at a couple of case studies that bring this idea to life.
This quote from Perplexity's founder is just perfect. It nails the core opportunity. A giant company's size, its bureaucracy, its need to protect its existing cash cows, all of that creates massive blind spots. And those blind spots are exactly where a small, obsessed founder can attack.
So take Perplexity. They weren't obsessed with search. They were obsessed with answers. And that tiny difference in wording is everything. See, Google is fundamentally obsessed with getting you to click on links, because that's how their ad business works. Perplexity's obsession was just giving the user what they wanted, a direct answer. By doing that, they've built a product that Google, even with all its tech, is financially afraid to copy. If Google did this, it would destroy its core business. Perplexity's moat isn't code. It's a business model born from an obsession.
All right, next up, Midjourney. The founder, David Holtz, has this amazing way of thinking about his work. He's not just obsessed with generating images, he's obsessed with expanding human imagination. And when that's your guiding star, it leads you to make some very, very different choices than your competitors.
Any other founder in his position would have immediately built a slick, easy-to-use website. But Holtz made this totally counterintuitive move. He kept the whole thing inside Discord, a chat app. It sounds crazy, but he did it because he was obsessed with community. He wanted people to see what others were creating, to learn from each other's prompts, almost like a public art studio. And that friction of being on Discord created this unbelievably passionate community and a unique artistic taste that is now Midjourney's greatest defense. Now, as inspiring as these stories are, we've got to get real for a minute. The path of the one-person unicorn is not all glamour. It's often brutal, and it's absolutely littered with failures and hidden costs. First, we have to remember survivor bias. We celebrate the one success story, but we don't see the thousands who tried and failed. And when you're the only person, you are the single point of failure. The psychological weight of that is immense. Not to mention, your AI agents can write code all night, but they can't talk you through a tough day. The loneliness is a real occupational hazard. And finally, your obsession has to connect with something the market actually wants. Otherwise, it's not a unicorn, it's just a very expensive hobby. And this leads us to what might be a much more sustainable vision for the future. Maybe the ultimate goal isn't to be a lone wolf. Maybe it's to build a small, agile wolf pack, a super tight-knit team of, say, 3 to 5 people who all share the same deep, motivating obsession. You still get all the incredible leverage from AI, but you also get that absolutely essential human support.
And really, that's the core takeaway here. As AI makes things like technical execution and basic strategy into commodities that anyone can access, the last defensible high ground is the stuff that makes us uniquely human. It's your specific curiosity, your weird taste, your irrational drive to build something new.
So, I'll leave you with this one question to chew on. In a world where anything and everything can be copied in an instant, what is the one thing about you that can't be? What is your uncopyable obsession? Because that right there might just be your single greatest asset.